I'm Dr. Dipali Sharma Bhandari from Government Degree College, Bharli, Head of Department in English. And since we've already lost precious time, we've also have, three more presentations which have been added in this session. So we have 10 presentations and we have to wind up by 4:10. So I would request everyone to, just give the main idea of their paper so that we can finish in time and the next session can begin in time. Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, ma'am, you are audible.
Yeah. So I'll be starting without wasting much time. I'll be starting straight away with the first paper, and I would invite A. Sneka for her paper. Please,
Good
like,
afternoon.
go ahead with the paper and keep it short. Keep it like within 5 to 7 minutes.
Okay, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. I'm Sneka A from Kongu Arts and Science College. I'm doing my first MA English Literature in that. I'm choose the topic of expatriation writing. This paper expose the expatriate writing and its features in English literature. During the last 3 decades or so, expatriate writings have much emerged in the context of multicultural world. The expatriate discourses are challenging the nations of belonging to most race and territory. Before we discuss the treatment of the theme of expatriation in India, English fiction, it is necessary to understand the terms expatriate, immigrant, and diaspora. Expatriate definition to drive into exile, banish. Then the second one is to withdraw oneself from residence in or allegiance to one's native country. Then the explanation of immigrant. The word immigrant means a person who has come to country to take up a permanent residence. Then the diaspora definition. The word diaspora originally means to scatter or rose across. Few expatriate writers are Salman Rushdie, B.S. Naipaul, Kamala Markandeya, Ruth Prabhajabala, Anita Desi, and Papsi Sidhwa. Now I'm going to explain one of all the 6 writers. Salman Rushdie. Salman Rushdie is one of the Rushdie is one of the expatriates that has remained one of the most controversial writers. He is primarily known as a novelist, but his works include essays, films, short stories, dramas, and editing. He got international recognition when his novel Midnight Children won the prestigious book prize in 1981. It can be said that he stands for freedom of expression.
Dipali ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Hello.
Yes, Dipali ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. I've started the session.
Okay. Please continue. Thank you.
Okay.
It can be said that he stands freedom of expression so vital to healthy democracy and creativity. Then the second person is B.S. Naipaul. He was born in 1932 on August 27. His fifth Naipaul's father Seprasal Naipaul sowed seeds of inferiority. Naipaul's fifth novel, Mr. Sones and Knight's Champion, 1963, is about man's search for identity. His journey to India in 1961 confirmed the fact that he was neither English nor Indian. He denied the victorious of both an area of darkness, 1964, in an attack on poverty. Then the third person is Kamala Markandeya. Uh, Kamala Markandeya has dealt with the theme of expatriation in her novels very effectively. Kamala Markandeya is a pseudonym of Kamala Puran, Purania. She was born in 1924 in Mysore in South India. She was born in the family of Diwan of Tipu Sultan. She hailed from Orthodox Hindu family. Her father has her father cast aside his illustration ancestral background and joined uh, Indian Railway under the control of British in those days. Kamala traveled a lot and vaccinated in various beautiful places. In the period of political uphill and freedom struggle, she lived in South Indian village to experience rural life. Her novel Nectar in a CV, 1954, is truly her masterpiece. Then the next person is Ruth Praver Jagwala. Um, was born in 1927. Her parents were Polish and Jewish. Um, she, mig- he, she migrated to England from Germany as a refugee in 1939. She got a master degree in English from the London University. Um, after 24 years in India, she moved to New York. She had written screenplays, television programs, and novels from the childhood days. She wrote about the loss of home and displacement due to migration. Her relationship with India had been that of love and hate. In an essay, Myself in India, she tells us about an inescapable cycle of puzzling relationship of a European or Western with India. Then the next person is Anita Desi. Anita Desi was born in Missouri in India in 1937 to a Bengali father and German mother. She studied in Miranda House in Delhi and got BA in English literature. Mm, uh, she was shuttled between India, US, and England. As a writer, she was pinpointed her attention on feminist perspective. She claims that women writers are more concerned with thought, emotions, and sensibility. She dwelt an inner rather than outer experience. Cry the Peacock, her first novel, described the story of Maya, a childless woman who murders her husband, who is quite aloft in insensitive. Finally, Maya also commits suicides. Then the last person is Babsi Siddha, deals with an issue of gender, ethnicity, and ideology. She examines the theme of injustice to women, religious intolerance, particularly towards Parsi community. Her works are marked by irony, satire, and humor. Her first language is Gujarati, her second language is Urdu, and third language is English. She had chosen to write in English, which she finds quite flexible and fertile. Her novel protects the issue of marriage of women. Her requiem motivates dislocation, both geographical and psychological. She exposes religious atrocities and ethnic conflicts associated with passion, border feminism, and expose the issues of intercultural conflicts as well as the archetypal American independence individualism. She also deals with a repute that is caused by devouring of one's native culture by the huge giant called America. Then the scope of studies, there are many more other expert writers who have dealt with the theme of diaspora, exploitation, alienation, and displacement even today. Expert writers mainly focus on the phenomena of migration, the status of new immigrants, the feeling of alienation often experienced by expatriate, as well as Indian women and their struggles in the practical society. Thank you so much for the opportunities.
Thank you, Sinika.
Thank
And
you,
now,
ma'am.
I will call upon the next presenter, Asia Ashraf Bhatt. Are you here? I guess she's not here. So we'll go on to the next presenter, Devendrappa Mallikarjun and Dr. Shabina Fatima. These two have presented a paper on resistance and identity, a post-colonial feminist study of Ismat Chughtai's fiction. May I know who will be presenting? I see Dr. Shabina Fatima here.
No, ma'am.
Mr. Mallikarjun, I can't see him either. So I guess they're not there. We'll come back to them later on. And let's move on to the next presenter in the series, who is Darshini. And she'll be presenting on Indian Dalit literature, a reflection of marginality. Darshini, are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Please go ahead with your presentation. The stage is all yours.
Okay. Good afternoon to one and all present here. Myself, K. Darshini, first MA English Literature from Congo Arts and Science College, Autonomous, Erode. I took the topic of A Reflection of Marginality, Racism is Around Me Everywhere by Francis Duncan. First of all, Dalit literature was originally emerged in Marathi language, critiquing the caste practices by experimenting with various literary forms. Introduction. Introduction of the author Francis Duncan. So Francis Duncan was born in Ireland, who's known for his poems. He started writing individual pieces since 1973, and now he has up to 9,000 poems. Introduction of the poem Racism is Around Me Everywhere aims to stop the racism. This poem shows that the speaker's feeling of apologetic, sad, and how racism affects a lot of people in wider range as this needs to be stopped. So I have applied the critical race theory here. The critical race theory is an organized framework of legal analysis based on the premise that race is not a natural but a socially constructed category. Critical race theorists hold that racism is inherent in the law and legal institutions of the United States as they function to create and maintain the social and political inequalities. So the themes of the racism around me everywhere are racial discrimination and cultural marginality. Racism never ends as it always exists. It is due to the fact that people of a different background feel superior, leading them to discriminate. Racism is generally global and it is witnessed every day in a human's normal lifetime. Racism is due to the cultural superiority in order to receive a sense dominance. All people are born equal, and racism should have extinguished with the increase in educated people and intermixing of various rules. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the wonderful opportunity to present the paper.
Thank you, Darshini.
Okay.
And with this, we are down to the next presentation, which is by Divya RB and Dr. M. Kumaran on tutoring speaking skills in English through student-centered activities. Who will be presenting here? Divya, I saw her. Divya RB. She just left, I think. I don't see her. Let's wait for her. While we're waiting for her to join, we'll go on with the next presenter, Janet Rose G. Are you here?
Yes,
Janet?
ma'am.
So let's go ahead with your presentation. I think Divya RB has left due to some technical reasons. She'll be joining us. So your paper is on Indian Dalit feminism, which talks about Karukku. Please go ahead with the presentation. Janet Rose
Yes, ma'am.
J.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, yes, very clearly.
Thank you, ma'am. So, good afternoon to one and all. Myself, J. Janet Rose from Congo Arts and Science College, Autonomous Erode. My paper is about an overview of Burma's Dalit feminism. We measure the progress of a community with the degree of progress woman has achieved. Right. So, first, my paper is about Dalit literature. So, I'm here to present what is meant by Dalit literature. So, Dalit is the word which, with a Sanskrit root, which refers to the people who oppressed and broken into pieces. So, Dalit literature is the literature which was about the caste system as untouchable. So, Dalit, which means for the Dalit, the by the Dalit, and of the Dalit. There were two major tasks which awaken the every reader by sharing the Dalit experience. Bama. Bama is a well-known Dalit writer in Tamil language. So about the author and his work. Bama is a pen name of Faustina Mary Fatima Rani, who was born in 1958 in Tamil Nadu. She is a Christian Dalit writer and activist. She became the nun in the convent at the age of 26. After that, she had continued her started writing with the first very famous novel, Karukku. Bama rose to the fame with this novel, which chronicles the joys and sorrows and experienced by Dalit Christian women in Tamil Nadu. This book has a number of plot that 9 chapters, including the prefix and postscript for each chapter, presents the fragment experience of Bama's life. So here I applied a theory of Freudian psychology, the unconscious state of mind. The unconscious is the small amount of mental ability, and the subconscious mind, and the it, and also the super it, and super ego and ego. Next, the themes and incidents. Marginalism plays a vital role. Is a group of class of the people which they are treated to be a less important in the secondary position. Next, caste discrimination and oppression. Caste discrimination involves a massive violation of civil, political, economical, and social and cultural rights. Oppression. The society act of placing severe restriction and on individual group and institutions. It became the place of Dalit literature. Then religions conflict, which is the war between the primary cause and the difference in religion. Dalit liberalism, the movement which was launched in 1956 by Dr. Ambedkar, main objective to establish the society in India based on social equality. And what are the incidents? The caste system, which we practice the untouchability in Bama's writing, discriminate the caste system of two. The Dalit worked as a servant for the Naker's family, which means an upper class family, as well as the children's, they are discriminated in institutions. Conflict of prayers and child laws, which means the two Dalit communities, for them, they led to kill and the court cases, even the police actions took places in this novel. And the theory of experience. I have experienced here the writer's point of view that she claims the sense of her identities as a Dalit, as a Christian, as a woman. Bama, yeah, who wrote the main motive for this book, which deals with the single caste identity, multiple caste identities also. As though she pursue an education she could barely afford, she might not fight hard for women. The minds of the human plays a vital role in this novel. The world such as it was an ego and also the superego. Conclusion. To be concluded, Bama Karga is a post-colonial literature in the sense of its present protagonist at the central position and fight against all kinds of discrimination and comes out of them making herself as strong as a person. And she is the author, she himself as a post-colonial character who just fights for the justice and as the caste liberation. My scope of study, unlike the topic of Karika, even though she is a Dalit writer, she can only express a view towards society, but nothing has been changed. So long as you do not achieve social liberty, whatever freedom is provided by the law is of no avail to you. Thank you. Thank you for giving this wonderful opportunity. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you and congratulations on a very sensitive topic.
Thank
I'll
you, ma'am.
now invite I'll now invite the next speaker, S. David Boone. The topic is psychological trauma of the protagonist in the select works of Rana Dasgupta. Do I have you here, sir? S. David Boone. It seems he's not here.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Janet, will you please close your video?
Microphone. Janet Rose. Yeah. Please turn
Yes,
off your
ma'am.
screen.
Oh.
So now it seems that Mr. Boone is also not with her and not with us. So we'll move on to the next presentation, which is Exploitation and Poverty in Sherman Alexie's The Absolute True Diary of a Part-Time by Bimlin Tibartsi N.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. The stage is all yours. Please take this opportunity to present your paper.
Good afternoon, another person here. I'm Bimlin Jabarti, doing my PhD in St. John's College of Arts and Science. My presentation topic is Exploitation and Poverty in Sherman Alexie's Absolute True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. Sherman Alexie was born in the family of Spoken Indian Reservation. Alexie employs his writing as a platform to bring awareness to the progression and necessity ideas towards exploitation, poverty, and socio-political oppression of the Native American people. This study analyzed the daily life of the Native American people, which is filled with poverty and exploitation. Alexie's characters were exploited by whites for a long time, and they were debarred from their land far from being stimulating. The reservation community keeps its members from succeeding and achieving their dreams. There are individuals who preserve or rejected and they endeavor make them outcasts, trying hard and having talents or virtues that are regarded as flaws by the majority of the reservation people. In the absolute true diary of a part-time Indian, the protagonist makes a bitterly humorous comment and complains of the fact that his family has been poor, praising its version of poverty. This is an autobiographical novel about an Indian boy, Arnold Smith, called Junior, who lives with his parents on the Spoken Indian Reservation. Here, the protagonist represents Alexei himself or reminds him in many ways. Arnold was also born with a hydrocephalus on the brain, a handicap which, which he survived. Similarly to Alexei, Arnold also suffers from severe seizure and bedwetting during his childhood. His appearance differs from normal as Arnold has an enlarged skull, where glasses with thick and subtle. Due to his environment, the main protagonist gets ostracized by other children. He finds comfort in drawing cartoons and wander both with his friends. Arnold decided to flew from the poor condition of the Spoken Reservation. His daring ambition is not met with much sympathy on the reservation. When Arnold transfers to Riordan, all-white school, the situation does not improve. He is constantly mocked and bullied in the white school environment, and he did not earn the other schoolmates' respect also. After when he returns to the reservation, he is considered as a traitor because he left the reservation and becomes successful. Then on the ending scene, he plays basketball game against the reservation school is highly emotional. The Riordan school team wins. Arnold feels very happy. However, he starts to feel guilty after he realizes what such defeat means to the tribe and he says, okay, so me and my wife teammates had problems, serious problems, but none of their problems were looked threatening, but I looked over at the weapon that skins are rowdy. I know that 2 or 3 of the Indians might not have eaten breakfast that morning. The deplorable condition of the life on a reservation resulting in the desire to flee away and some of the main concern in the novel. Alexis himself admits the reservation borders play a vital role in Indians' life. As he points out, although Indians become successful of the reservation, they still carry the reservation stigma as a personal decision, undeniable impressions on the ethnicity, personal decisions and a full life of love and affection. The fact that the young Native American the reservation could study from the outdated materials their parents studied before them essentially started. Arnold and he saw the books at his white teacher, Majesty, after Arnold's suspension from school. Majesty visits Arnold in order to convince him about his abilities. In fact, he reveals Arnold's high potential for study. Even though Arnold's family was a poor family, even they had problems, his dad is always engaging. He even he is even a little optimistic, pushing his son to dream big. Although the conditions on the reservation are in many cases highly disturbing, life on a reservation also has a few positive impacts on the Native American culture. The supporters of the reservation often see these areas as a cultural base where native languages are spoken and passed on. Moreover, reservation promotes family and community bonds as part of long-standing tradition. Despite this positive aspect of reservation life, many Indians and non-Indians who are familiar with the present-day condition of the reservation are dissatisfied with them. The dissatisfaction and desire to improve the well-being of Indians still residing on the tribal land has two major efforts. One type of program enables particularly young individuals to leave the reservation and seek better opportunities elsewhere. Another major effort to improve tribal life focus on the development and support the economies of reservation. The current status of the urban Native American is mixed. Many people perceive the image of the Indian as noble savage with multi-feathered headdresses and a bow and arrows. But Indians are becoming integral to the modern America as any other minority. It may cause a shock for some to realize that instead of regularly attending chows and hearing Norsemen, Native American listens to the hip hop music, wears night sneakers, and behaves pretty much the same way as any members of the popular culture. However, family bonds in Indian community is crucial to many Native Americans, and so organizations that help urban Native Americans preserve their cultural heritage are very important. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a very, subtle connection between poverty, exploitation, and subalternity that you have explored in your paper. And for the next presentation, we'll move on to Sanju S, whose presentation will be on qualitative and comparative analysis of contemporary female diaspora writers in the novel Jasmine and Sister of My Heart.
Good
Sanju
afternoon,
S.
ma'am.
Yes. Good
Am I
afternoon.
audible, ma'am?
Yes, please go
Yes.
ahead with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sanju from St. John's College of Arts and Science, Tamil Nadu. So, here my topic is qualitative and comparative analysis of contemporary female diaspora writers in the novel Jasmine and the Sister of My Heart. So we know about the black woman suppression, and here the black women experience racial, gender, financially disadvantages on top of each others as a result of the racism based on colonization. For similar reason, Asian women and Asian civilization have fought against patriarchy. They have just lately started to solidify their position as leaders in writing and literary industries. This paper contrasts the two recent books by Indian American authors, Sister of My Heart by Chitra Banerjee Devakarni and Jasmine by Bharati Mukherjee. The female characters portrayed in these texts are contrasted. These works necessities an introduction to genre of diaspora literature which unifies them all, in addition to fact that they include female writers of Indian heritage. I wish to determine each author's preference and pinpoint the distinctive features of each own well-known works of fiction. Am I audible? Hello? Yes. So here, Diaspora writers' ideas and the perspective are strongly different from Indian literature. Some of the major themes in Indian diaspora literature include like that hybridity, multiculturalism, the quest of personal identity, the insider-outsider feeling, uprooting and rerouting, dislocation, identity crisis, alienation of Indian in other countries, and homesickness, nostalgia, longing of motherland, and the plight of Indian workers abroad, etc. And so in this paper, here it is also to perform the qualitative and comparative analysis of contemporary female diaspora writers fiction. In this case, the two works of questions are Jasmine and the Sister of My Heart. The portrayal of the female protagonist in the two works bears it's an objective thing, and the fundamental topics and the both fictional workers have been examined. So the here I want to explain you about the linguistic and cultural traditional and national grouping via literature in the comparative literature, and it requires the ability to consider the several type of art at once, because it is interdisciplinary field, and that must be the democratic familiarity in the translation studies, international studies, cultural and linguistic studies, as well as in the historical and the theological areas. So we know that the comparative literature aims to illustrate the depict of a specific comparative literary activity without reference to any overarching principle. The other mode is emotional comparative literature, such as or theoretical identification. In this mode, these people who study the comparative literature about the touches, and they contrast the literary works, look at the various abstract system work, and all these things which explains about the oppression and the depression of the women writers in their period. So here the book Jasmine was written by Indian American novelist Bharati Mukherjee. So in this, it required to look at the work's essential components, including the plot, setting, characters, and the themes, to compare them, because the both works which were written by the diaspora Indian American women immigrants, they may categorize the Excel literature. Excel keeps the lines communication open between Excel nation and writer's native nation. Even though the two pieces of storylines are different from one another, they have certain similarities. Both the Jasmine and Anju have a great drive to study the daring attitude. Both are the chief characters. But the marriage changes their goals, pushes them to fulfill the stereotype of a wife due to the traditional culture. Jasmine travels there since her husband passed away, and Anju goes there because their man she marries resides there. Like the two girls, they have two difficulties in surveying there is immigrant. Readers will be able to draw the comparison between the sister of My Heart by Devakarni and Mukherjee Jasmine by looking the few common topics. So here Jodi, the young sisters of the middle class family, has the panic for studying, and she is fortunate to have the wise master who supported her education. As a result of this sponsorship, she can able to learn to English and also get books, and she pursue her thirst of knowledge and new experience. So Anju, she is a keen experience in achieving her goals and gets older, just like Sudha. These are all the chief characters, and she always thanks to her mother. And Anju is intelligent and perform well in school. This is confirmed by the fact that she continued to place highly in debate and spelling bee contest. That is very anxious to enroll the in her college days also, and this is also evidenced by her intense fascination with Elizabeth Barrett honors that program. And Sudha's father's left to assert other than debates. So she's just as intelligent as Anju, but she in turn that out of one of the reason why she struggled in academically. Sudha, however, is also skilled chef, kinder, and the coach. So these are all the characters which differentiate all the girls. Even though they have that urge to get the education, they are facing the different situations situation and different problems in their lives. And the three girls like Jyoti, Anju, and Sudha come from the middle class families, are shown to have goals on their successes. They are determined to attain that despite having limited finance. And Jyoti, she was very pretty child who made her mother worry about her groom, since parents at the time mostly carried about their daughter's dowry and not her education. After marrying the man of her choice, Prakash Vijay, and begins a transformation from a rural girl living under the care of her father and bothers to her wife, that traditional husband who gives her all the freedom. And she is sexually assaulted by the ship captain halfways. Her husband fate was influenced by a group of male soldier known as the Lion. And Jasmine's American love interest in murder by the man, and because of this, the main character Jasmine faces male domination throughout most of her life. And whether she lives in first world or the third world war, she's just confused in that. And the chapters from Sister of My Heart, which was titled The Princess of Palace of Snakes, alluding the protagonist's attempt to confirm the traditional roles and the male dominant society has assigned to women. Both the girls in this case are said to have brought ill luck to forsake the dad's death even before they were born. And they also face a financial difficulties because they are now in charge of paying off debts that their fathers granted to them. And Sudha is tortured by her husband and in-laws who want to terminate her daughter. Unable to defend herself, she turns her mother Nalini, and then it's shows the psychological stage of the women after that marriage, girls what they are faced in their married life. And here the authors create and well women household to studying the mechanism through these women's queries, collective power in a patriarchal society. The two sisters are born together by fate and are attracted to one another because of timing of these births, marriage, pregnancies, etc., which all occurred around the same time. For them, sisterhood involves both love and family, and they have that connection between the sisters. They are pretending that they were one soul, because they know what they are going to face in their future life, because they too experience in that they are the real victim. So these sisters share a strong loving bond of those beyond their ties of their families. Despite being split apart by fate and marriage, they have not let anything stand in the way of their love for another, even if that means the love of the men in their life for other. The women share their lifelong experience with jealousy, loss, sadness, surprises, and prolonged separation, and they learn that these problems and trims share a common thread to enable the women from the various background to easily identify. So these are all the commands over this. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And from the scheduled presentations, I would now like to call CEO Christopher J. with the presentation on development of rambling identity in Philip Roth's novel The Human Stain.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Good
Am I
evening.
audible?
Yes, you are audible. Please go ahead with your
Uh,
presentation.
Myself, I am Sijo Christopher, studying, doing my PhD in St. John's College of Arts and Science, Amandivale. I have chosen the title for my presentation as Development of Rambling Identity in Philip Roth's novel The Human Stain. I have chosen the title as Development of Rambling Identity due to the identity is not stable in the life of the Jewish. Now let us see the gist of my author. The other is Philip Roth. He has written more than 32 novels and he has been awarded with Man Booker Prize. He is the only author who directly speaks about the problems faced by the immigrant Jewish. The other authors says indirectly, but he directly writes in his works. So he are supported by the Jewish people. Now we can see the Jewish background. In America, the Jewish immigrant was only 3,000 during the period of 1820, and it increased as 30,000 in the period of 1880. In the first half of the 19th century, most of the Jewish settlers were from Central Europe. They thought that the America has the golden land because of the war and their due to poverty, etc. The many Jews from Central Europe they have been came to America in search of job, etc. But they thought it was a golden land. But in America, they were not allowed to enter into the city because their skin color is light black in color. So that they were not allowed to enter the city. They were forced to live out of the city. So they started to form the slum. Because of slum, there was no proper sanitary facilities, no proper food, no home, etc. They were lived in small huts, etc. So that many people lost their lives because of poor sanitation facilities. There were a lot of diseases, etc. In this novel, The Human Stain, we can see the life of a hero who is Coleman Silk is the hero. He is the light black skin person. He is a second generation Jewish settler. He was working in a college as an assistant professor. He has a lot of years of experience in teaching as well as motivating the children. But one day the principal announces that there is a promotion for every staff. But Coleman Silk does not get the promotion. So he tries the reason to find out why he did not get the promotion. When he found out that he is light black in color. That is the reason he did not get any promotion. So he asked to his principal, why did you promote me? I have a lot of teaching experience. He says that you are light in black in color. This college is meant for only white people, not for you. So that by angry, he resigns his job. Now he tries to join in Navy. In Navy also, they says that light black color people cannot be accepted in Navy. This is only for white people. If you need a job in Navy, you will be in low class job like cleaning the ship, painting the ship, etc. So that in this paper, what I am coming to tell is the experience and talent are not given much importance. Only the peoples are class wise based with their skin colors. This is the findings of my paper. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, since I can see Divya RB here, Divya, are you ready to present your paper? Divya RB. Divya RB.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. So please go ahead with your presentation, which is on tutoring speaking skills in English through student-centered activities. And since the chairperson for the next session has joined, I would request you to keep it, within 4 or 5 minutes so that we can, close the session on time.
Sure, ma'am. The topic for my presentation is tutoring speaking skills in English to students and activities. As we all know, in the age of globalization, we live nowadays, the interdependence of nations and countries create a need for a global language, and no language qualifies for this better than English. Taking into account the importance of developing speaking skills, it is vital to determine that the learners have to acquire in order to converse with native language speakers. However, there was a debate that majority of high school graduates cannot speak English properly. The teacher provides students the opportunity. In student-centered method, the teacher provides students the opportunity to learn independently and from one another, coaches them in the skills they need to do effectively. More, it was stated that in this approach includes techniques substituting active learning experience for lectures, assigning open-ended problems and problems requiring critical or creative thinking that cannot be solved by following test examples involving students in simulations and role plays, and using self-paced and cooperative learning. And it is a learning approach to education focusing on the needs of the students rather than those of others involved in the educational process, such as teachers and administrators. And in student-centered learning, focused on students' needs, abilities, interests, and learning style, with the teacher as a facilitator of learning. This classroom teaching method acknowledges students' voices as central to the learning experience for every learner. Uh, Speaking is the most fundamental for language skill, and by this approach, the learners can develop the speaking skills. And uh, in order to develop the speaking skills, uh, the activities like role play, debate, seminar, group discussion, pair or narrating stories, language games, narrating incidents, interpreting data, and describing and interpreting features, interviews, and extempore speeches are introduced to develop the speaking skills of the students. And the relationship between students and the approach and the speaking skills is relevant. This approach creates learning by doing situation. The students can develop the speaking skills through the realization of tasks which are devised along with the students and taking into consideration the needs and characteristics. Thank you, ma'am. Hello. Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible? Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, you're
Yes, please
audible.
go ahead.
Yes, you're audible. Your chairperson's was disconnected for a while. She's
Okay,
back.
ma'am. That's all about my presentation, ma'am.
Please go ahead with your presentation. I'm here. I had some network issue for a second.
Okay, ma'am. Actually, I finished my. Shall I start? Hello, ma'am.
Hello, you start where you left off.
Yeah, I finished it.
Okay. So could you just go back one or two sentences back, like,
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. In the age of globalization we live nowadays, the interdependence of nations and countries create a need for global language. And I know language qualifies for this better than English. As we all know that English is a tool of communication. It is used in some aspects of life science, commerce, advertising, diplomacy, and transmitting advanced technology. The status of English on this international level is a major fact that that contributes to the increase in the importance of English in India. Uh, in order to develop the speaking skills of the learners in students and approach, there are so many techniques are used, such as role plays. One of it is the most important technique, and in this, the students should be chosen to play some roles, maybe between two or three. Familiar roles should be chosen to practice oral skill. And another one technique is debate. Debate is one of the most common exercises that involves all the students in the class, and it is a main means of developing oral skills. And seminar is used commonly in our students in the classrooms, and in this method, to develop the oral proficiency of the students. The topic of the seminar may be the choice of the presenter. If the teacher gives the topic, should be given in the line with the level of the students. The presenter should carry out this activity in interactive mode. And another method is group discussion. Participating in a group discussion is the need of the hour for the job seekers. This necessity of the students can be effectively exploited as a motivator to develop oral skill. Group discussion requires a quick perception on the topic. The other prerequisites of the group discussions are language fluency and rationally unyielding to the arguments of the others. Uh, and in interview, students can be trained to account with the aspects of the interview. There are So, there are many challenges to develop the students and the instruction in classroom. As challenges from the family side, from teachers, and also from
Thank you, Divya. It seems you're having some problems at your end. So I'll let it rest. And thank you for your presentation. And now I hand over the stage to Dr. Sangeeta Singh for the next session.
Thank you, Dr. Dipali Sharma, for handing over the platform to me. We begin with the 16th technical session of this international conference on Subaltern Studies. I guess this is a completely virtual kind of a conference. And in this session, let me just introduce myself first. I would be chairing this session, the 16th technical session. And there are, I guess, 5 or 7 there's 7 participants here that have to present, who have to present their papers. And we will stick to the time limit of, say, 8 to 10 minutes. Each presenter would get 7 to 8 to 10 minutes to present. And I would request each presenter to limit themselves to the allocated time so that we can complete the session within the stipulated time. I'll just announce the names in the sequence order so that I know who all are there. I can see S. Yasmin is the first presenter. Be ready. Then you have Luku Murang. And then we have R. Priyanka. Then we have Admiral Dhavanshri and S. Isyagnan and S.S. Swastashri. I guess these are the presenters who have to present here on this platform. So without much ado, I would hand over the mic or the platform to S. Yasmin. She is S. Yasmin. I hope you're there. I can see your
Yes,
name.
ma'am. I'm here. I'm ready to present, ma'am.
Yes. S. Yasmin, she's an assistant professor in head Congo Arts and Science College. And her title of her paper is Voice of Subaltern in Kavita Kane's Karna's Wife and Outcast Queen. So over to you, Yasmin, and please stick to the time limit.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. I'm taking this opportunity to thank the conveners first of all for giving me the opportunity. And as our ma'am said, Sangeeta Singh ma'am said, my topic is Voice of Subaltern in Kavita Kane's Karna's Wife and Outcast Queen. And every culture has its own myths. It is through myths a culture is being defined. And as we know very well, myths are long stories which is about great heroes and historical figures, and in grand style. And it speaks about gods and angels. But what is the point is here is it is for humans. It is for the elevation of humans, spiritually, morally, ethically, everything. Okay, and here Kavita Kani has taken the Mahabharata, which is considered to be the world's longest poem, and it contains the episode of Bhagavad Gita there. And it contains and encapsulates numerous stories, legendary stories that are spinning around many controversies as well. And with this introductory note, I'm going to introduce our author, Kavita Kani. Kavita Kani is an Indian writer. She is well known for her writings in mythological fiction, and this particular novel Karna's wife, the outcast queen, is a story of Karna on Urvi, his second wife's perspective. Actually, the perspective changes altogether. The perception of changes the entire character of the man. So, in this way, at this junction, Urvi's perspective is most unique, and it is a very unique narration actually. And this novel is very good episode from Mahabharata. That is one of the characters of Mahabharata, Karna. It brings Karna and how the life and nature of Karna had given some uh, examples, and how it illustrates the major characters of Mahabharata. Here the characters plays a very mature role, and the images of women, the image of women, especially Urvi, it is said in a very patriarchal perspective. Though it is in patriarchal perspective, the retailers like Kavita Kani has used in a feministic way, as well as how she has now. In my paper, I'm going to argue that how she is portrayed in a subaltern way. Is moving to the subaltern theory. I just want to underline what is subaltern and what it is. Okay, and the Subaltern Studies as a whole, it aims to uncover the histories of groups. That is, those people are considered as subordinate to the mainstream. So these people, the subaltern people, contained in the periphery, and how they are subsidized by the center people, and by the how they are marginalized. And in this novel, the Karna's wife, the outcast queen, and it revolves around more, though it revolves around many male characters, especially the protagonist Karna. I would like to shed light on the character of Urvi. It is the female character, the female protagonist of the novel. She is altogether subalterned by the patriarchal society, as well as by the characters involved in characters present in the novel. But my point is, Urvi, she is her voice is made open, and she was made to tell her nature and voice to Karna, and how it is portrayed in this novel. Urvi, she is the only daughter of King of Pukeya, and she has all challenged all the norms and social norms and tradition to marry her love, Karna. Who is an outcast king and a Charitas son.
Yasmin?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here. Just a minute, please. Urvi, after her marriage, she has learned a lot about Karna, and she is she come to know that how Karna himself is how Karna himself is delineated, and also how he is enthroned by others in the life. And after knowing that, she felt somewhat an outward love towards Karna, but that love is also delineated by him. And it is the quality of quality of Urvi, because she is very adamant and disciplined woman, and she has a power to raise a voice against social injustice, especially when it comes to the game of dice. It is Urvi who showed and who has questioned Karna why he was dumbfounded there when Draupadi when Draupadi was get into that all kind of arena, and she was She asked and she scolded Karna for him for the wrong, and she wants Urvi always wants Karna to be his ideal hero. But after some time, when she learned about Karna's inefficiency of withdrawing his friendship from friendship of Duryodhana, all her dreams about Karna got shattered, and she at once decides to leave the place and go back to Pukeya. Actually, the main problem in her relation is the attachment of Karna for Duryodhana. He is never ready to leave the hand of Duryodhana, as he has his own beliefs and customs. Though he is a very good man in himself, he is not ready to leave Duryodhana, though he is a bad one. At the end of the novel, which we come to say that excuse me, ma'am, just a minute, please. She is Karna's view on Urvi grew very uniquely, and she has become a modest lady, and she quarreled with Karna. Though she quarreled with Karna when Kauravas trapped Panjali during that dice game, everything, these insults and hurts of Karna had made him a good man. And at the end of the novel, she voiced out his though she longed for the complete love of Karna, she won it. At the end of the novel, we come to know that how she has taken up the family and taken up the love of Karna as well. So at this juncture, I just want to wrap with 2 points. One point is that Urvi is a voice of subaltern. Like though she is a woman, she is actually double marginalized. Okay, one thing is she is woman. In those days, that too during that Mahabharata days, it was very wrong to voice over out what she is and how she is and what she thinks of the happenings of the world. So it is the one kind of marginalization. And the other thing is she is an outcast queen, because she has married Karna with all the opposition from all the ways. She is not at all she was not meant to marry Karna, and later she never dishonored or left him, but she tries to mold Karna in such a way. So at the end, she has been portrayed as a woman who is liberated according to the novelist. So that is what my conclusion. That is the voice of subaltern, that being a double marginalized woman, she has voiced out her ideas in the novel. Thank you, ma'am.
Yasmin, thank you for your presentation on Karna and the outcast queen Urvi. Yes. Yeah. You talked about, you started with myths and how, myths actually represent the culture of our society, and they are a kind of truth that how people view the world and how they imagine the world to be. And especially in terms of, if we see that Mahabharata is also considered as a very elitist text, which talks about the main protagonists and heroes, and these subaltern characters like Urvi, and for that matter even Karna, they are relegated into the background. And only through these fictional representations, like the ones like Kanan has come up with, we can find voices of the subaltern, right? So I would like you to elaborate a little bit on the fictional aspect in the novel, in Karna's wife. How is it different from the the mainstream Mahabharata that most of us
Yes,
have
ma'am.
been
Yes,
reading.
ma'am. That is I've left, I think. The thing is, actually Karna is always considered as a friend of Duryodhana and one of the Pandavas by birth, but he is not given right position, or he is not given the respect, due respect to him. But it is in this novel, the novelist has tend to explain what is the reason behind this. And also the novelist also tried to attempted to make an elaborate note on the relationship between Karna and Draupadi as well, and how it was taken by Urvi, the second wife of the lovable wife of Karna. And she is the one who understands Karna and Draupadi, as well as Karna and the binary position of Karna and Draupadi, as well as Karna and Kunti Devi. These things are made understood to the public by the novelist, and through the voice of Urvi. And she has explained as well as she has exemplified how noble such loves are. That is the relationship between Karna and Kunti, Karna and Draupadi. So these are all exemplified by Urvi. So these are all the fictional aspects. But what my point is, I have taken only that is how, though she is women and she has no voice at all. In this novel, Kavita Gani has made that woman to talk about everything, to talk about all the minute aspects of the nuances of not only the daily life, but also the psychological aspects of the main characters.
Okay, thank you, Yasmin, for that input. We will, if we have time, we will discuss a bit more on that later. So
Yes,
I
thank you
would
so much.
invite. Thank you so much. Now we have KS Ritani. Is she here? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Her presentation, her title for her presentation, for her title of her research paper is An Introduction, Gender Discrimination, Kamala Das's. I think this title is incomplete if I'm maybe.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So you can elaborate
Sorry.
on your title a bit more.
Yes.
Over to you.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. My name is Sritani. I'm doing my MA English in Congo Arts and Science College Autonomous Hero. My topic is about the theme of gender discrimination in Kamala Das, an introduction. Kamala Suraya, popularly known by her pen name Madhavikutty and married name Kamala Das, was an Indian poet in English as well as an author in Malayalam from Kerala, India. Her liberal treatment of female sexuality marked her as an iconoclast in popular culture of her generation. Her notable works are Entakada, My Story, and Introduction, The Descendants, etc. Introduction: gender discrimination is the one is when someone is treated unequally or disadvantageously based on their gender. Gender discrimination is harmful by limiting the ways people express and identify themselves. An introduction is one such poem which speaks about gender discrimination. This poem is an autobiographical poem of Kamala Das. We can apply post-colonial theory. In this poem. Post-colonialism involves the discussion of experiences such as slavery, migration, race, gender, suppression, etc. Double imprisonment of women by colonists and the patriarchal society has the glimpses in the poem under consideration. Every line of the poem is worth to explore in its post-colonial studies. The themes in this poem are men as the rulers, women are individuals too, a poet's struggle for freedom, her miserable married life. An introduction is the poem, which was an autobiographical poem of Kamala Das. She tells about her married life in this poem. It was so miserable. She was married at the age of 16. She was a child, although the size of her body grew up. Her husband confined her to a single room. She was ashamed of her femininity that came before time and brought her to this predicament. This explains her claim that she was crushed by the weight of her breast and womb. The poet here not only describes her married life but tries to narrate the story of every woman in the society. She tries to overcome it by seeming tomboyish cut. She wore her brother's shirt and pants. She cuts her hair short and adorns boys' clothes. People criticize her and tell her to conform to the various womanly roles like cooking, uh, uh, to wear saris, etc. They accuse her of being schizophrenic. Schizophrenic refers to the serious mental disorder in which people interpret reality abnormally. Mm. They confuse her want of love and attention for insatiable sexual craving. She explains her encounter with a man. He defined himself by the I, which is the supreme male ego. It represents the male dominant in the society. Towards the end of the poem, a role reversal occurs as this I gradually transfers to the Kamala Das herself. As the role reversal occurs, the moment two becomes the I, reaching the pinnacle of self-assassin. Conclusion is Kamala Das clearly explained the struggles faced by the woman in the society. She presented her thoughts in a bold manner. She wants every woman to raise a voice in the male-dominant society. She also indicated the dominance of patriarchal gender in the society. Now, but nowadays, gender discrimination is reduced to half in compared to old days. Everyone should be treated equally. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, Ritani. Your
Thank you.
presentation on Kamla Das's poem and introduction, which was an autobiographical poem written by Kamla Das and which talks about gender discrimination. I think this poem is also more or less about how most of the adolescent girls, when when they're going through this phase of puberty, when their sexuality is kind of a burden, their growing sexuality is like a burden to them, and they are a little confused about what is happening to their body. That aspect also can be included in it, and why the confusion is because they're treated differently by the male population of the society as they grow into this puberty stage. And it is until the woman realizes her true identity, it is only then that she is able to accept her body and her sexuality in its completeness. I think this problem is faced by most teenaged girls when they move from childhood to adolescence to womanhood. So I've seen many girls going through this process in which you've rightly the society gives a name like schizophrenia, because they try to hide their body under the garb of dressing up like men and getting haircuts like boys. So this is a kind of non-acceptance of womanhood. It is because the society treats women as second sex, as Simone de Beauvoir has also said. So you could elaborate a little bit on what I am talking about in your paper, if you're interested in. Thank you so much, Ritani.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now we have the next presenter, Lukumurang. I cannot see Lukumurang. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Yeah. Lukumurang, he's an assistant professor at DHSK Commerce College, Dibrugarh from Assam. And the title of his research paper is Look, Here is the Masiha, the narrative of heroic deeds in Northeast India, set Bollywood films. So over to you, Luku.
Ma'am, may I share my screen?
Yes, please do. Yes, please do.
Okay. Is my screen visible, ma'am?
Not yet.
Okay. I think now it's visible.
I'm afraid, yeah. Yes, it is visible now.
Okay, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. The topic of my presentation is Look, Here is the Messiah, the narrative of heroic deeds in Northeast India set Bollywood films. So, if we look about how Bollywood films, Bollywood movies have represented Northeast India, we will find that there are very limited number of representations of Northeast India. Mostly, we found that there are stereotypical representations, and the tribes here in Northeast India have been mostly given racist characterization as exotic tribal people living in an exotic land. And Northeast Indians are often portrayed as other because of the distinct geographic location, and cultural differences are also there. And mostly the tribal physique is highlighted in Bollywood films. And they are often portrayed as they are more close to Southeast Asian nations. And that's why they are foreigners and outsiders in mainland India. And where they are often subjected to racial prejudices and subjugations, and as Sefta, flat-nosed, Oriental, or Chinky. So these are the terms which are often used against the northeastern people in mainland Indian cities. And these Bollywood movies try to represent this. And often the movies try to portray Northeast India as an exotic land where there lives uneducated, primitive tribal people. And often there are no proper identification with the places and people which are portrayed in such movies. So I'll be looking at mostly 5 films where Northeast India has been given a place. Objective of the study is how the films portray Northeast India as the exotic land of the tribal. Northeast India mostly as a lawless war zone where terrorists are creating havoc. And we can say that Northeast India is often exoticized, stereotyped, and homogenized in the narrative. Rahi, this was the first film where we have a representation of Northeast India in Bollywood film. This film was directed by K.A. Abbas. In this film, this is based on Murkraj Anand's novel, Two Lives and a Bud. Here, we find that the tea garden workers who are portrayed as primitive, uneducated, poor and underprivileged group of people, and they have these habits of substance abuse, smoking and drinking, etc. Where in lots of the scenes in the film, we find how these people have the habit of smoking and drinking, and they are oppressed by the British people. But however, they cannot protest against the British officials. Now, this man, Dev Anand Bijoy, he comes from mainland India, and he lands in this tea garden in Assam, and he is able to unite the villagers and fight against the British uh, tea garden managers. Now here, exotic Assam has been focused, where extended sorts of hilly terrains and rural roads, forest, bamboo houses, and wooden bridges are used. And then crocodile, cows, elephant, one-horned rhinoceros. So these are the animals which has been used extensively in various scenes to portray the exotic nature of the place. So the protagonist Ramesh, sorry, his name was Ramesh. He's a retired army officer who arrives in northeast Indian state of Assam, and he is able to unite the villagers and let them fight against the British officers. The next film we found is Ye Gulistan Hamara, which is directed by Atmaram. In this film also, which is partially based on Nagaland, in the Indian state of Nagaland, where the storyline is based on how an Indian special officer come engineer is on a mission to construct a bridge in northeast India's Dihing region. So the Dihing region is there is no region as Dihing in Northeast India. It's just a make-believe kind of thing. So the film also does not identify fully with the location where it is set, but mostly it is assumed as Nagaland. Now here in this film, it is also portrayed as a wild and exotic region, which should be incorporated into modernization and progress. So the mostly people here in Northeast India are portrayed as underdeveloped, poor, and underprivileged. Now, beside this man, the protagonist of the film, who is a special officer come engineer from mainland India, he is depicted as a savior, an agent of transformation who is transforming the tribal people which are in slumber of ignorance and oppression. And the tribes are against developmental projects. So the mainland Indian government is trying to construct a bridge over the Dihing River, but they are protesting against that. So this kind of narrative is given that the Northeast people, they are protesting against any kind of projects which brings development to the region. The next film is Saya. This film directed by Anurag Basu. It is also partly set in Mokoksang district in Nagaland, where Dr. Akash Bhatnagar, John Abraham, is playing the lead role. He's looking for his wife Maya Tara Sharma amidst violent storm, flood, and devastation. Now here in this film also, the state of Nagaland is portrayed as wild and exotic frontier, and the tribes of Nagaland are portrayed as primitive, mysterious, violent, and they are untouched by modernity, and they practices witchcraft. So this kind of representation is given in this film as well. Now we know Dilse Maniratnam film. It's a very famous film, and in this film, Northeast Indian state of Assam is portrayed as a terror belt where terrorists are creating some kind of havoc. There are so many terror groups in operation here, and that they want separation, they want partition from the Indian nation state. And here Amar, a mainland Indian man who is All India Radio program officer, and he is here to save the people, and he is finally able to save the northeastern people from this crime, corruption, everything. So this kind of representation is there in Bollywood films. And the next film I have brought up for discussion is Rock On 2. In this film, directed by Sujat Saudagar, 2016 film. Here, again, a village in Meghalaya, Umnia village. It is set in Umnia village only partly. This village is portrayed as underdeveloped, wild and exotic, where there is lots of corruption and crime, where the politicians are unwilling to help the villagers. And Aditya Shroff, who is a male and Indian man, who is here in Meghalaya and who has established a school running a cooperative farm and a farmers cooperative to help the villagers. So in all these films, what we have seen is that the films try to portray Northeast India as a wild and exotic place where mostly the poor, underdeveloped tribes live. And here there are lots of violence, corruption, crime, everything is there. So this kind of narrative is abundant in all the movies which are based on Northeast India. So in conclusion, we can say that Bollywood looks for stories and narratives for selling it to the audiences across the world. However, this kind of narrative showing Northeast India as wild and exotic terrain inhabited by worst tribes is a form of intellectual silencing. Film should be a social tool to promote social harmony and belongingness to cultural dissimilarities. Entertainment should not be the sole aim. So instead of devaluing a culture, it should educate the people about the marginal culture. And here we can say that Bollywood movies functions as agents of new colonialism. Hence, they try to marginalize, stereotype, and exoticize Northeast India. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Luku Morang, for bringing out the the stereotyping and the racist and the exotic representation of the Northeast in the Bollywood movies. It's a very pertinent issue, and if you see even the Hollywood movies, they have this intellectual silencing of the Indian culture by bringing in the Indian subcontinent as something exotic and something outlandish and something out of the world, so uncultured, uncouth, uncivilized. So similar thing can be seen in the Bollywood movies with regard to the movies made in the backdrop of the northeastern part of India. It's very sad to see something like this in the movies, and we need to have more Bollywood movies which are more inclusive, and I think this problem can be solved if we have some directors and actors who are, if I may say, cultural insiders, people belonging to that region, who actually understand that culture, and they can truly bring out the cultural specificities of or the realities and the cultural nuances of the indigenous people of Northeast. If somebody else is making a movie, so obviously that person can never ever be able to will never be able to translate the nuances of the culture he's representing, because he's always going to be, he or she would always be a cultural outsider. So I think the problem to solve this typical stereotypical depiction of North Indian state and Bollywood movies, the only answer I can see, or the only solution I can see, if we have more directors and actors who are cultural insiders and who can make movies and bring out the actual culture of the Northeast. And this intellectual silencing and the neo colonialization which you talked about, it is working silently in many ways. And one aspect of it is has been seen in the Bollywood movies as well. So this neo colonialism is another threat which we have to be wary of. So that was a wonderful presentation, and I wish you had talked a little more about how you can do away with this intellectual silencing and cultural silencing and the othering. If you had talked about this, the solution in your conclusion as well, I would have been quite happy. Thank you, Luku. If you want to add
Yes,
something, we can do it later, because we
yes,
have a
ma'am.
lineup of other participants. So I'll move on to the next presenter. We have R. Priyanka. She's a student, I guess, from MA English, and her topic of presentation is Dalit Girl by Mon Mukherjee Das. So over to R. Priyanka if she's around.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, over to
Over
you.
to you. Shall I present the screen, ma'am?
Yes, please
Yes,
do.
please do. Ma'am, is it visible, ma'am?
Yes, it is
Yes, it is
visible, but it
visible,
is
but it is
kind of by
kind of
mute.
minute.
It's visible,
It's
but you
visible,
can
but
go
you
ahead.
can go ahead. Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. Now I'm going to give the presentation on the topic Dalit Girl. First, I wish to tell about Dalit literature. Dalit literature is literature written by Dalits about their lives. It informs an important part of Indian literature. It emerged in 1960 in Marathi language, but soon it appeared in Hindi, Tamil, Kannada, and Telugu languages. The major focus of Dalit literature is on the community. The poem, my topic is about Dalit Girl. It was written by Mau Mukherjee Das. She was born in Kolkata, West Bengal, Indian. She was a professional freelancer. She was self-employed. She studied social marketing and communication. She had an experience of more than 10 years of teaching. The other works written by Mau Mukherjee Das was If Only, Girlfriends, Life, The Corpse, and Ode to All Things Old, Life, Dream. About the poem, in this poem, the women are sacrificing for the society. Nobody is spared. The young and the old, the educated and the uneducated, the high society and the low class, all are made to feel the same. But in this poem, the plight of the Dalit girl gets more compounded due to socio-cultural barriers. And this poem reflects the plight of the Dalit girl. The major themes in the poem Dalit Girl was the identity and caste oppression. In this poem is the autobiographical poem, and the poet describes about her problems. When the poet born on a windy night under the sky at 12 o'clock, the world describes her identity as a girl. Uh, when the poet went to village school, the panchayat described her identity as she is a Dalit. And then the poet, when got marriage and her marriage certificate had a new identity as she is a woman. After a few days, She will be dead, and her death certificate gave her identity as she is a dead Dalit woman. She said that her certificate never mentioned that she is a woman too. This throughout the poem, the poet describes about her identity in every stages of life. Thus, it becomes a major part of the theme in the poem Dalit Girl. The next theme is caste oppression. It plays an important role in the poem Dalit Girl. Due to casteism, she was banned in school by upper class people. So she sat in the corner of the class. Boys maintained a distance in marketplace. Her parents stood at the end in ration line. Neighbors started to avoid. Thus, the poet and her family members were ignored in all the places and struggled throughout their life. At last, I wish that casteism never end in the society. There are some people who still criticize the low class people. Human created the casteism and human are suffering, and I wish human want to give solution for casteism. Thank you.
Thank you, Priyanka, for your presentation on Mao Mukherjee. My voice is echoing. Priyanka, I think you should mute yourself. Yeah. So this presentation by Priyanka was on the poem Dalit Girl by Mao Mukherjee, and she talked about the doubly marginalized women of our society and the discrimination that is meted out to them during when they're alive and even after their death. So the poem is about the identity and the caste discrimination. And I haven't read the poem The Dalit Girl, so maybe I'll read it sometime. Thank you, Priyanka. So I move on to the next presenter that we have here today. It is S. Amridhavarshi. She's again a student, I believe. Her topic of presentation is Meena Kadamsami's poetry, An Angry Young Woman's Counter Narrative. So over to you. Are you there?
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah. Good evening, Amrita Varshini. Amrita Varshini, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, all, and good evening, present here. I'm going to present a paper about Meena Kandasami's poetries. I'm on the topic of an angry young woman's counter narrative. Now, let me explain about Meena Kandasamy. She is a writer, translator, and activist. She articulates the voice of her own community, her own country, to which forefathers belonged at the given point of time or history. She tries to recreate the lives of her community named to her and make her voice heard in the dominant discourse. Um, uh, 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 Meera Kandasami's directness and talent reside in her narrative approach. The poet stands a myth and the legends of on their head to explore the regressive core. She uses words, images, and metaphors as tools of subversion, asserting in the process her caste, gender, and regional identities. In touch, Meena Kandasamy focuses on the sufferings, frustration, humiliation, suppression, and revolt of the ill-fated marginalized sections of our society. Even gods and sages divide human beings into the rich and the poor, upper caste and untouchables, and spread hatred among human beings. In caste, the caste system in India is the example of classification of castes. It has its origin in ancient India and was transformed by various ruling in medieval, early modern, and modern India, especially in Mughal Empire and the British. Gender discrimination based on the gender, a common civil rights violations that takes many forms, including sexual harassment, regional identities. Regional and local identities is a phenomenon where people identify themselves with the social system of certain region, people, culture, traditions, landscape, etc. Regional identities is expressed in different ways. It may be simple, a regional inferiority complex, or regional pride. Sufferings. Dalit women are often trapped in highly patriarchal societies. The severe discrimination they face from being both a Dalit and a woman makes them a key target of violence and systematically denies them choices and freedoms in all spheres of life. Um, I'm taking the analysis of the poem. The poet stands myth and legends on their head to express their regressive core. She uses words, images, and metaphors. A different realm were crystallized with undeserved hatred, resulting in untouchability among lower and upper caste people, which ultimately produces untouchabilities. And my conclusion is caste is along with Meena Kandasamy, according to her, she says the obstructions and impediments lower caste women of they have to bear as they sit at the intersection of two marginalized identities. The scope of this work is while her works notably touch on Miss Militancy have received both positive and negative criticisms, they have invariably placed many uncomfortable questions at the counter. As women, we are indoctrined merely to accept our situation and be grateful for all the things we have. As women, we are told that it is bad behavior to be angry. We are told that we have to change ourselves because we cannot change the system. Those of us who refuse to comply, whom everyone loves to hate. Um, this comes to an end. She explains that women in the society, women are dominated over the other people. Um, l- like she said, we have to improve our society. We are improving now, but still we have to improve in all the places. Thank you.
Thank you, Amrita Varshini. She talked about Meena Kandaswamy's poetry, and she talked about her counter narrative poetry and the tools that she brings in to show the doubly marginalized condition of Dalit women. And I would like Amrita, if you could unmute yourself and talk about the words, images, and metaphors that she has used in the poetry. I would like you to speak about one or two metaphors that she has used in her poetry as tools of counter narrative. Can you throw some light on these metaphors that she has used in her poetry? Yes, Amrita, do you have any examples of the words or metaphors that you talked about?
No, ma'am. I'm searching for it. Sorry.
Sorry, I can't. You're not clearly audible.
I'm just collecting it, ma'am.
Okay, that's okay. I wish you could have talked about the metaphors that she has used. That would have made your paper even more interesting. The metaphors, words, and images that she has used in her poetry as a tool of counter narrative. That sounded a little interesting. Now we have the second last presenter, S. Isiagnan. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm there.
Okay. So the title of his presentation is Subaltern Literature, My Daughter's Boyfriend.
Yes,
Over to you. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to my presentation. Let me start by saying a few words about my own background. Before that, I'll present my presentation. Ma'am, shall I?
Please go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, I am Isanyan, yes, and I'm pursuing my MA English Literature in Kongu Arts and Science College, Erode. I have taken the topic of subaltern literature and on my daughter's boyfriend. And first, I like to share the message. Subaltern literature is the word subaltern means lower in rank or inferior in rank. The term subaltern was first used by Antonio Gramsci. Then, subaltern literature means studying about lower or middle class people. And I like to say about Rasia Khan Amin. Rasia Khan Amin was a Bangladesh writer, poet, and educationist. She was born in the year of 1936 and died on 28 December 2011. Her notable awards are Pen Live Writing Awards in 1956 and Pub Gold Medal 1957 and Bangla Academic Literary Award 1975. Her notable works are Novel of the Wayside, The Alternative, Draupadi, and My Daughter's Boyfriend. And My Daughter's Boyfriend, the theme is transfer of child's affection from parents to lover, the emotion experienced by the parents, the love and care that she showed on her daughter, and stranger could easily take away her own daughter from her hand. And I have divided the 5 parts of My Daughter's Boyfriend poem. Strange happenings, emotions of the mother, real pain, thoughtless hands snatches the beautiful flower, pride and pain, and strange happenings. At first, the speaker is a mother. The speaker feels that something wrong is going to happen. Someone kept knocking on the door, and when she opened it, she was shocked to see her daughter boyfriend standing in front of her door, and he didn't respect her presence and moved inside without asking her permission. And second thing is emotion of the mother. Speaker disliked that her daughter's boyfriend pays her daily visits. She is concerned that her daughter will one day take her away from her grab, and her daughter feels that same way that one day she should leave the house. And real pain. Next is real pain. Speaker is thinking that when her daughter was young, she was not well and her mother took care of her health and day and night without sleeping. But her daughter forgot all of things, and after the arrival of her boyfriend, this was my mother's agonizing feeling. And next thing is thoughtless hands snatching the beautiful flower. The speaker is now talking about her daughter's dream and comparing them into flowers, which means that just a fragrance of the flower is always surrounding us. Likewise, she thinks about her daughter's dream and she is afraid that one day the flower will be taken by away the stranger, just as a fear that one day her daughter will also be taken away by her boyfriend. And next thing is pride and pain. This was the last. Now speaker can't think about what is happening in her surroundings and day-to-day life. Her thoughts are consumed by her daughter and she recalls how happy she was when she gave birth to her, but she was also now depressed about her daughter because her daughter would be going with her boyfriend. An analysis of the poem, the daughter's love for her mother is decreased and her love for her boyfriend is increased. How a lower class mother thinks about her daughter's life and she had dreamed about her marriage. And this was my views on my daughter's boyfriend in subaltern literature. And scope of the studies. We have gained information from the poem written by Razia Khan about the mindset of people in Bangladesh and their culture in 1940s. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving this wonderful opportunity to present my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Esegnan. Your presentation was indeed very nice, but I just got me thinking, what kind of subalternism are you talking about here, apart from this being literature which germinates from a woman and she is a subaltern. Apart from that, in the poem itself, I can just see the fear of the mother losing her daughter to her boyfriend. Could you elaborate a bit on that?
I think so. She is an middle-aged or 1 minute, ma'am. she is a middle class or a lower class woman, ma'am. So she was afraid to her future, how she can marry her daughters and how she can marriage her in a better place or in better good suitors for her daughter, and she was afraid in her future to how she can choose in a better place to her marriage for her daughter. That was the subaltern here I found.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Isnan. Now, the last presenter that we have for today's session is S. Swatishri, and I hope she's here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and her title for her presentation is "Come, Unriddle Me: Reality of the Dalit Feminism Self in Militancy" in Meena Kandaswami's. Right, so over to you.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening to one and all. I'm going to share about the poem about Meena Kandaswami's Miss Militancy, the reality of the Dalit woman, and as a feminist poet writer, she suffered from the feminist Dalit feminism based. Meena Kandaswamy is an Indian poet, fiction writer, translator, and activist. She edited as a Dalit a bi-monthly alternative English magazine of the Dalit Media Network. As a writer, Meena's focus on mainly on a caste annihilation and feminism and linguistic identity. She says that the poetry is not caught up within the large structure that pressure you to adopt a certain set of practice while you present your ideas in the way that academic languages and thus prefers to use in her activism. Her work, Miss Militancy, published by Navya, it is an independent anti-caste Indian publishing house in the India, first publishing house who published the work of all anti-caste people's works. The title of this volume is based on some revolutionary and courageous like herself. It is described about her use of English language in the terms and content. Dalit feminism is a perspective that includes and questioning the caste and gender roles among the Dalit population and within the feminism of the large women's movement. This militancy poem volume based on some herself, her life incidents, based how she was imagining her husband to treat herself. But for as her caste oppression and women issues, this poem collection focus on women empowerment and psychological pressures for the women, and the poet plans to grant the women's identity. Mina's as women needed to change themselves by the rules anymore, they can act according to their whims and fancies. They need not to confine themselves within the iron bars and culture and traditions. Dalit considered that the lowest and most oppressed of the Indian caste and formerly known as an untouchable. She said that it is impressed her identity as an Dalit partly because there was no way to escaping from it. As a poem or informed by the sense of gender relations that suggests being a woman in a largely patriarchal society and another form of being lower caste. Her quoted words are you do not have to as an dialect or by being a woman of the caste it is in you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, Swatishri. So you talked about Dalit feminism and how this poem, the poem that you talked about, it talks about Dalit feminism. And just a little thing that I would like you to explore a bit more about is the Black feminism, or you can talk about the Aboriginal feminism that is there in the world, and you can correlate it to Dalit feminism in some way or the other. It's just a little seed that I'm giving you to explore on, so that you can widen your scope of studying Dalit feminism. That how different kinds of feminisms exist in the world over, right? So it's just a bit of extra thing that you can do to add on to your research, right? So I guess we have done with all the presentations today that were there for the 16th technical session on this international conference on Subaltern Studies. And with that, we wind up this session. We had very interesting papers and presentation, one by Yasmin, and which talked about mythology. Then we had somebody talk about Kamala Das's gender discrimination, how it can be related to post-colonial theory. And then we had this presentation about the northeast of India, how it is depicted by the the Bollywood directors. This was a very interesting presentation which Luku Murang presented. It was one of the best, I would say, out of the entire. All of you were very good, but this especially tugged at my heart. How this intellectual silencing of the subaltern voices is going on in a wheeled manner in many ways, at many levels, at many places, and we have to be wary of all that. And of course, we had poems on Dalit girl, Dalit girl by Priyanka. She talked about Mao Mukherjee's Dalit girl, the poem, and then Meena Kadmasami's poetry, the counter narrative, and all these presentations depicted how the subalterns are finding voice through literature, and how the entire history is being rewritten. Even the mythologies are being kind of being questioned and represented or retold through the perspective of the subalterns, and they're finding place in the mainstream literature, and how the marginal voices are finding place in the mainstream literature. So this was indeed a very interesting session. Thank you all for sharing your research insights here on this platform. I'm grateful to the organizers to have me here as the chairperson. I forgot to introduce myself at the outset, so I would do that now. I am an associate professor at Government College in Hamirpur in Himachal Pradesh, and I have an experience of over 25 years of teaching. So it was nice meeting you all in this conference. Hope to see you again sometime. Best wishes for your research work. Thank you so much.